lovers, it's Robo, and we're back with another episode of Robo-Reviews. And on this episode of Robo-Reviews, we're going to take care of a review that you guys have been kicking me in the ass for a long time to get done, and that is the Ronin Tactics Battle Belt System, in this case, the Senshi Belt. Check it out. So here it is, the Ronin Tactics Senshi Belt, or Ronin Tactics solution to the Battle Belt problem in terms of first line solutions. This is one of a few different options offered by Ronin Tactics that just vary in price range and therefore feature sets that come along with it. The Senshi belt is one of the higher tiered options, and I'll go over why in a second. Now, the Ronin Tactics offerings here have been designed to replace the traditional battle belt system, which generally requires either multiple belts or an excess of fabric to give you the real estate to hang utilities and accessories off of your first line. Now, what Ronin has gone and done is basically micronized all of those needs into a smaller belt platform that not only stays put where you need it to stay put, it still gives you the PALS real estate to hang things off your first line, like mag retention, dump pouch, holsters, whatever have you. Anything that basically will integrate into a MOLLE PALS system can be hung off of this belt. So what kind of makes this belt special? Well, like many things in the tactical world, there's lots of solutions to the same problem, and each solution basically argues that it's the best for its needs. Now, in terms of the Ronin Tactics belts themselves, you're going to find other belts that have similar features, but not all of them just like they are present in the Ronin Tactics offerings. So again, it's a little bit of forewarning. This is going to be a little mileage may vary for the user as well as personal preference, but in terms of a belt system, and I've tried many, whether that's a traditional belt system or multiple belts or hanging things directly off a rigger's belt, honestly, I've searched for a couple years now for a system that works as well as the Ronin Tactics system works, and honestly, I couldn't be happier for a belt system. So, with that all being said, let's take a look at why this belt is kind of cool. So, like I said in the little intro there, first and foremost, the utilitarian aspect of this belt is that it provides MOLLE webbing for you to utilize to allow you to hang accessories and needful things off your belt system or your first line, which is generally pretty important when it comes to a first line system. Now, having a PALS system or MOLLE adaptable system on the belt itself, rather than having to hook things just across the belt surface itself, is extremely useful in the sense of the same ways that a PALS system on a plate carrier or chest rig works, and that is it keeps things in place where you put them. So when you put a holster on your right side in a certain place, guess what? It stays on the right side in that certain place because it's restricted by the actual PAL system itself. So that's extremely useful in a belt system. Again, as opposed to just putting, say, the loops of a MOLLE strapping or PALS webbing through, over the course of the surface of the belt itself, which can lend itself to shifting and things like that to anybody who's actually done that with a belt system and became physically active while they were wearing it. Now, the Ronin Tactics belts also feature a 2-inch redesigned Cobra buckle. Now, in a few of those options, it incorporates an integrated D-ring for retention options, for safety retention options. Now, that saves actually a little bit of space up front rather than having two different utilities there. So it allows them to get in some more PALS real estate on each side. Now, this Cobra buckle is very, very robust. It's a 2-inch one, as I mentioned. It's very, very strong, especially in terms of an airsoft usage. You're never, ever going to wear this thing out. And now, in terms of real world uses, I'm more than confident that this belt buckle is more than heavy duty enough to meet the needs of, say, special world operators or just, defensive-minded civilians who pick up this belt. Again, I don't think I've actually had a Cobra buckle quite this rugged, to be honest, and I've had a lot of riggers belts with Cobra buckles on them. So what makes the Ronin Tactics offerings so unique in the market, at least from my perspective, is that all of their offerings are lined on the inside of the outer belt with a hook field. Now, a lot of guys in the military have actually been doing this as kind of like a personal project, as they put hook and loop on their outer belt and their inner belts to keep them in place. But that's actually what this entire system is based on in terms of the Ronin Tactics offering. As you can see, the entire length of the belt is coated on the inside or covered on the inside with hook fabric. And what that mates with is, with every Ronin Tactics belt comes an inner belt system. So this is a 2-inch nylon, a reinforced nylon inner belt that would go through your belt loops. And as you can see, it is covered with loop on the outside of it. And what that means is you essentially put this belt on to hold up your pants, and it just, again, hook and loop Velcros together to create the right size for you, and again, doesn't go anywhere. And I'll test this. These hold up your pants perfectly. I mean, I actually really like wearing this as a belt in some cases. But what that allows you to do is, of course, then when you've got this through your belt loops on your pants, it allows you to take the outer belt and actually just mate it together. So that way your outer belt stays in place without any slippage, no need for some sort of grippy material on the inside, and there's no fear of any rolling of extra fabric or your outer belt shifting above this to any degree. So again, showing how this works here is you have this inner belt with the loop, and what you're essentially doing is just taking that outer belt and mating the two together. So you get, in effect, a battle belt-like system, but it's almost like you're wearing one belt. Now again, this comes with the upside of you still have an outer belt, which allows you to take off this heavy equipment when you need a break from your day-to-day duties, or again, if you're an airsofter, then from the milsim event or whatever, you can actually take it off. So it's just as rigid and deployable as, say, hanging accessories right off of a rigger's belt that goes through your belt loops. But again, with the added bonus of actually still being able to take this off. So then what are the differences between the Senshi belt, which is an upper tier belt from the Ronin Tactics offerings, and say the shooter's belt, the warrior's belt, and the task force belt? Well, the biggest difference is let's cut them in half, and let's say between the warrior's belt and the shooter's belt, the only difference is going to be that the shooter's belt at the lowest price point at about $130 USD doesn't include a D-ring. So for you guys who don't actually need a D-ring for a personal safety retention device, then you can actually save some cash by omitting having that D-ring entirely. Now, that's really the only difference between the shooter's belt and the warrior's belt. The biggest difference between those two belts and the two higher tiered ones, which are the Senshi belt and the task force belt, is that those two lower tier belts use a traditional rigger's belt as the outer belt. Now, some of you are thinking, well, what's that mean? Well, so the two higher tier ones, like the Senshi here and the task force belt, if you can tell, this is actually a specially woven nylon, which has a stiffener in it. So it just creates a little bit more rigid of a platform for you to hang things off of. Now, honestly, in my opinion, is this absolutely necessary at some of our levels? Well, no. I only say that the stiffener is absolutely necessary if you're hanging a lot of really heavy accessories off your belt. If you're someone like a milsimmer or whatnot, and you're only using it occasionally, and you're really only hanging stuff like, Kydex off of it and a holster and a dump pouch, it's not absolutely necessary. And actually, I don't think it's necessary in a lot of cases, because again, there's hook on the inside all the way across, and the outer belt and the inner belt mate so perfectly that you don't get rolling. I've got a lot of friends that use the shooter and warrior's belts, and they've never encountered any fabric rolling when hanging any accessories on the side. Now, I just like spending money, and I like the idea of testing out the stiffened belt, so that's why I got the Senshi. Plus, I kind of like the look of the multicam kind of stiffened nylon with the black pals. It's kind of, it's kind of sexy looking. Now, the only difference, literally, between the Senshi belt and the limited edition task force belt besides like literally like $3, is that the PALS webbing on the Task Force belt is also multicam. But that's basically it. So what are the price differences? Well, between them, the lowest end, the shooter's belt with no D-ring, costs about $130 or $129.95, in around that area. And it goes all the way up to the Task Force belt, which is about $185 or $86. And you get a range in between that with the other belts. Now, a lot of you guys are going, whoa, that's really expensive for a belt system. Well, you got to look at it like this. Number one, you get an inner belt and an outer belt with this, okay? And two, you're not having to buy, again, a battle belt system to go over an outer belt and then buy another inner belt at the same time. So it's one of those things where you got to look at, okay, what are my needs? What are my usual costs? And what problems do this solve? Honestly, for me, like I said, I'd spent years trying other belt systems, being unhappy. Me spending $180 US on this solved a lot of my problems and put my mind at ease. But again, each and every one of us is going to have, a different threshold for what value an item holds. Mine was all about the functionality. This solved a lot of my problems. So therefore, again, it was a no-brainer in the purchase. So what are the pros and cons? Well, I'll handle the cons real quick. It's simply the cost. For a lot of people, it's going to be a huge hurdle to buy into the Ronin Tactics Senshi belt, just because they are a little bit more expensive in comparison to what generally people will see in terms of numbers when they're looking at belts. Now again, this is an all-inclusive system, so therefore you got to treat the number a little bit differently. But I also understand that people look at numbers at face value. So that's going to be the biggest hurdle for a lot of people. And before I forget, there's only one other small downside. Now this is something that I didn't perceive. It was one of my real-world buddies who, through high use of other belts, kind of suggested as maybe a nice thing to consider maybe in the future. Now, as you know, nylon is a kind of plastic-based material, so you can actually singe the ends and it melts up real nice and it makes things sturdy and pretty. Now, over a lot of high use though, these edges can start to fray and come apart in some other belt systems. So it was just something that my buddy had kind of pointed out, that on some other belts, you would dip the end in a resin and resin coat it so it was kind of solid all the way through. But he said, again, it's, mileage may vary, it depends on the use and depends on the experience of the person using the belt, but it's just something to kind of consider. Maybe two can look into that in the future kind of thing. But honestly, that's basically the only con or downside I can kind of think of when it comes to this belt. So the upsides to this though, if you've been looking for a battle belt system that feels like you're wearing one belt, this is gonna be the solution for you. Again, the hook and loop field kind of mating option there literally makes it so you've got no excess fabric, and it's strong enough that you can move pretty much as aggressively as you want. Cartwheels, handstands, front flips, whatever your kind of ninja-like prowess kind of demands that you do, and this belt will stay with you and exactly where you need it to be, meaning that your accessories, magazines, holsters, guns, dump pouches, lollipops, whatever, will stay exactly where you have been trained to grab them from your first line. So again, I think that's a huge, huge, huge benefit. And like I said, I know a lot of real world guys have been doing this, modification to their belts on their own for a really long time. Well, here's Ronin Tactics with a professionally created belt system that supports what has already been doing in the field. So really, I can't even suggest this belt more than I already have. A ton of my friends have started switching over to these belts because of the utility that they've offered. Again, like I said, a lot of them are using the shooter's belt, the $130 one. It's a belt that isn't so daunting when it comes to your finances, and is still an excellent, awesome belt. That works exactly how it should. It was just my personal preference to get the Senshi or the stiffened one. Whatever you choose in terms of the belt from Ronin Tactics, I can promise you you're gonna win. So in terms of that, guys, honestly, if you've been looking for a belt solution like I have for a long time, I urge you, go to RoninTactics.com. I'll put their link in the description. You can see their belts on there. They also sell fantastic clothing. They've got a plate carrier solution on there as well. So there's a ton of awesome stuff that Tu and the rest of his team at Ronin Tactics are doing in terms of products and training. So I highly, highly, highly urge you to check out at least their website or their YouTube channel. So that pretty much covers this belt, guys. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for me to release some information on this belt, and honestly, it's the best belt solution I've ever found. Now, will that change tomorrow? Could be, but you know, the future's emergent. For right now, this is literally the best purchase I ever could have made in terms of a first line option. So there you have it. Pretty much takes care of another installment of Robo-Reviews. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I alluded in the actual review itself, I honestly do believe the Ronin Tactics Battle Belt system to be the best solution to the battle belt problem on the market for its money. Now, obviously, to each their own, and mileage may vary per user, but if you are interested in picking up one of these belts, I highly urge you to go check out RoninTactics.com. I'll link them in the description below for your ease. Please do check them out. Now, in terms of what's coming down the pipes next, in terms of reviews, I'm going to be looking at the Red Wolf custom version of the Mission Spec Essentials Only Carrier, or EOC, going over the things that we changed in the Red Wolf custom version, as well as why I use it in the field currently these days. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be coming down the pipe soon. And in terms of gameplay, holy poop, I've got tons of gameplay coming down the pipeline because I just attended Rebel Yell 3 and Faded Giant 4 within the last month. So expect a ton of footage dropping from me soon. Just be patient, I have to go through it all, but it will be coming. Check it out. As always, I do want to take a quick second to thank my two most awesome sponsors, being Enola Gay Tactical Smoke Grenades and Red Wolf Airsoft. Now, both of these companies provide me support in such a way that allow me to do much more airsoft, so I can bring you guys more gameplay, more reviews, and more philosophies for you guys to learn and enjoy. So big thumbs up to both of these companies. Please do check out their websites. I've got them linked in the description below. So whether you did or didn't like this video, I still kind of want to know about it. Drop me a line in the comments below. I love the feedback and the conversation. And as always, if you could do me a huge solid, and that is like, subscribe, and share with all your friends, keeps me happy in this YouTube game. And as always, guys, until next time, keep having fun playing airsoft, being good community members, defend what you love. Later, guys.